So today we are going to paint a rose, and I thought to myself, isn't there an easier way to do that than to have a reference photo and look at it all the time and see where everything is? So I decided to try and paint without a reference photo. I have made a sketch, quite a good sketch of a rose with all the petals shown and so on. And yeah, I'm going to show you what I did and how you can paint a beautiful rose without looking at a reference photo all the time. By the way, my name is Miriam and I'm an artist based in Denmark in Europe. But let me just show you the colors we're going to use. I have used a shell pink, alizarin crimson, quinacridone magenta, olive green, undersea green, and Indian red. These are the colors we're going to use for this painting. And I will begin with the lightest color, the shell pink. And I'll just mix them here in my mixing tray, so they are ready when I need them. I'm only using 2 brushes for this painting, a size 6 and a size 2. And of course a mixing tray and some clean water. The first thing I do is of course to make the sketch and put some masking tape around all around here so that we get a nice crispy white edge. And the next thing I do is I wet the petal I'm going to work on. And then I begin with the lightest color, which is the shell pink. And I just begin to drop that in. I go along the edge here and I just allow the paint to flow. And then while it's still wet, I can go in with the next color. Perhaps I want to add a little bit of the quinacridone magenta. So I'm just dropping that in as well and allowing that to flow out. Can help it a little bit if you think you need a little bit of color down here. And I make some areas quite light and some areas quite dark. And we could also put a little bit of the alizarin crimson in here, like that. You don't have to use all 3 colors on all the leaves. It's completely up to you. You will still get a nice result. And now I want to avoid working on petals next to the wet one. So I'm going to find one that's not close here. So I pick up this one and I wet this. Or I choose this one, I don't pick it up. And now I'm going in with the alizarin crimson along the edge and just allow the paint to flow. And now I think I got a little bit too much color down here, so I can always take some of the color off with my brush. I think I'll add a little bit of the magenta, just a little drop here and there. So this is actually the way, or the first step in painting this rose. And I'm really just choosing randomly what colors I want in on the leaf. I think I will go with the shell pink up here. And perhaps a little bit of the magenta. So some areas are darker and some areas on the petal are lighter. And now up against this petal, the paint is very light here. So I make sure that the paint will get dark here on this petal so that we can see or make definition between the petals. So that's quite nice to know. But after everything is dry, we will work on it again and see where it needs a little bit of something. But yeah, this was the first step. And I will just continue with the rest of the petals. And you can do the same if you follow along with this video. I will just speed the video up a little bit so it won't take too long before the next step. Now we completed the first layer of paint. And now it's a good idea to perhaps take a picture of the rose with your phone and look at that and see if there's any areas on the rose that you're not completely satisfied with. Perhaps there's too much paint in one place and it looks a little bit odd. Down here I got some water blooms that I don't think that looks so nice, and some odd things going on in the painting. So I have this brush here that I use sometimes if I want to remove something from my painting or to blend something a little bit on the paper. It's an old brush I found somewhere. It's nature hair, but they are quite thick, so it's, yeah. I also have this brush. It's a synthetic brush, and it's ruined because I used this to do the same, to scrub on the paper with it, and that ruined the brush. So I will not suggest that you use a synthetic brush you care for. But if you got an old one that is not very good anymore, this could be an option as well to use. But what I do is I wet the brush in the water, of course, and then I go down here. I don't like how this looks, and then I just gently scrub with this brush, and this is sort of mixing the colors together and removing some of the harsh lines in the painting. I also have a paper towel, and I can just dab it a little bit just to not have a lot of paint flowing around. And I will continue with this one. I think this looks a little bit odd as well. So I'll just go in with this brush and gently rub it. And be careful not to tear your paper and ruin your paper. This is quite important. So it still looks a little bit strange. So if I can't do the job with this brush, the other thing I could do was to go ahead and wet the leaf and then drop in some new paint. That is quite a good option as well. I still think there's an odd white spot on this one, so I will just do what I just told you. I wet the leaf or the petal, and then I'm going in with some of the alizarin crimson color. And then I just drop that in and allow it to flow. Like this. And you can always take some of the color off again if you think it got a little bit too dark. So I like this better. And I will just go around the painting and just in different places scrub a little with this brush and just try to get rid of the hard lines I see. Like this. And also somewhere if I got edges that disappeared or edges of the petals, I'll try and see if I can remove some of the paint that has flown into the other petal. And get that line back. But I would suggest as well that you go in with your small size 3 brush or 2 and add some lines here and there, also where you can see some of the pencil lines. But the first thing I do is just scrub with this brush here and there where I think it needs a little bit of blending. So that is the next step in painting. Okay, so now I'm quite happy with how it looks right now, but there are some areas where I think the outline of the petal is missing here and there. So I'm going to go in with a little bit of water like on this leaf, and I'm just going to wet the area, and then I'm going to drop in some paints. And I think I will choose the alizarin crimson, and I will just tap this along the edge and it will flow out. I didn't wet the whole petal because it's just up here. I wanted to define the edge a little bit more. And here we got an edge that's sort of missing or not very strong. And I can see the pencil line, so I'll just wet this area as well. And here I want to drop in some of the pink paint. And then I just soften this edge a little bit with some clean water. And here we got an edge as well where I can see the pencil line. So I will just wet that. And here we'll go in with the shell pink. And just add a little bit of that. And try to cover up a little bit of that pencil line. And I'll just do this all over the painting. And like I mentioned before, it's quite a good idea to take a picture. It's like you just see everything more clearly when you look at it on your phone. I do that all the time when I paint, because it's really helpful to see if some areas need some darkening, or perhaps some areas are too light. So yeah, I need some darkening. Or perhaps somewhere you need to use the scrub brush to just take off some paint. And this leaf down here is also missing an edge here. So I'm going in with quite a watery mix of the Elizabeth Crimson. And I'm just painting this very lightly here, so that you can see, okay, we actually got a leaf here. And I will do the same down here, just so we know we got a leaf definition here. And we also got a line over here, and I'll do the same here. I'm just seeing what color we got on the paper, and then I will use that. Now we have not used any of the Indian red yet, but I think I will drop that in especially here where the flower can be quite dark in the middle. So I'll just mix up some of that Indian red and go in with that color here and there. And I'm going to use my size 2 brush so that I can control what I'm doing. Just adding some of this darker color here in the middle of the flower. And I soften the edge with some clean water here. And I'm just making small dots here and there in the corners where there will most likely be some shadow areas, some dark shadow areas. But I think I'm quite satisfied with how this flower looks right now. So now we can continue with the rest of the painting. And I think this rose is the focal point. So we got these other rose nups, or rose buds. And I don't want them to be as strong in color as the rose, but perhaps I just want it to flow out a little bit. So I'm gonna, when I paint these, to do that, I'm gonna wet the area where the rose bud is, and I'm right now I'm avoiding the green part of the rose bud, and I'm going outside the edges to allow the paint to flow out a little bit. And then I will go in with the color, quite a watery mix, and just allow that color to flow. out to the rest of the paper. This will look a little bit blurred, and that's just the effect that I would like to have. And I will add a little bit of a darker color. This really likes to travel. So and then I will just allow this to dry, and while that is drying we can always continue with this one down here. So like with the rose buds, I don't want the leaves to be too defined. So I just go in with some clean water and allow it to go outside the edges of the leaf. And then I go in with quite a watery mix of the olive green. And this one does not like to flow that much, so I have to help it a little bit. So I'll just do that. And I will continue with the leaf over here. And up here it's dry, so I can go in with some clean water. And add some of the olive green color. And I continue down here. So now this green is almost dry, and the rose also have some branches that runs here and there, but I don't want them to be too defined as well, so I'm going to wet the area and don't mind that I go outside the lines. And then I will add in some of that Indian red, because the branches are in that color. I kind of like how this looks so far. Now I can also work a little bit on the green on the rose buds, and now I'm picking up the undersea green, and I'm just going to define a little bit the edges so that you can see we got a rose bud. And I will go in and soften that edge with some clean water. And now we got the finishing touches, and I think I just want to define the edge out here a little bit, so I'll just wet it, and also here, and then I will go in with the alizarin crimson. And soften. And then to make even some more effect in the painting, I'm going to mix up quite a dark mix of the alizarin crimson, and then we are going to do a little bit of splatter, just to make a little bit of interest. And I think perhaps I'll do that with the magenta as well, so it's not all the splatter it's too dark. That's so dark, so I'll just do that. If you don't like it, you don't have to do it. So, but I just like that little touch. So yes, this is the finished painting. Now I will remove the masking tape with my hairdryer, and then I will show you the finished result. And there you go, the finished results. Please like and subscribe if you want to see more videos from me. And if you have any comments or suggestions, please write them in the comments down below, and I will get back to you. So bye for now, and be well.